Hello, and welcome to the Urban Wealth Management Smart Women Savvy Money April webinar. My name is René Nourse, founder and CEO of Urban Wealth Management and Smart Women, where we help our clients get their financial lives in gear. Our Smart Women Savvy Money Club is focused on addressing the special needs of women by helping you get proper sustainability in your life and getting your financial life in gear. And why? It will help to reduce the stress because so many women tend to be overlooked and underserved. And at Urban Wealth Management, our primary focus is addressing the special needs of women, not at the exclusion of men. And here's why. Did you know that less than 50% of women have adequate savings for retirement, although we live longer? And we tend to not have a lot of our own personal money set aside for our life. And we need to have that. So we've got a very proper and relevant topic that we're going to be speaking about. But first, let me let you know who we are and what we do. If you haven't been to our site before, we've got a lot of great content that we can share with you that you need to know what's important about what we do and what you need. First off, we have our own firm, Urban Wealth Management, where you'll be able to see a majority of the services that we provide. And since we focus on women, we have an all-women team. And we know that women love to work with women that look like them, who have the same experiences that they do. But you can also click on the side here, the menu, and you will be able to go to our Smart Women Savvy Money site. That gives you an overview of what we do, and also gives an overview of the upcoming events that we have. We do recommend that you join our club. It does not cost anything to do, but here you'll be able to see all of the current webinars that we're doing and the ones in the past. We focus on lifestyle related changes, not necessarily just strictly about finance and investing and things like that. You will be able to find out, for example, how you can make your life easier and less stressful. So last month, for example, we had a great speaker because this is an interesting topic. Investing in stocks, you need to be a bond girl too. But only 40% of women even invest in the stock market. It's time for us to step it up and become much more secure and understanding about it. But other topics have been about how do you take care of your parents? What is college planning? What about estate planning? You just lost a loved one. What are the steps that you need to go through? We cover a lot of things, and certainly due to the pandemic, there was a tremendous amount of topics that needed to be addressed. So what we want to do is to make sure that you get your financial life in gear and that there's less stress that you will have to deal with. So happy to introduce you to our speaker because this is a very relevant and timely topic, Susan Shloss. She's a certified money coach who has an amazing topic today, which is the 4 pillars of financial freedom for spiritual women leaders. It's a very important topic. So with that said, I'll turn it over to you, Susan. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Renee. It's wonderful to be here with you.
And it's wonderful that you're here with us.
Thank you. It's wonderful to hear all that you are about and all the levels of support that you provide. So I always invite people to stop and take a breath before I launch into my topic so that you can really be open and relaxed. So let's just take a breath together now. Let go of the day, let go of anything coming after this. So you can really be present to take in this information. And I want to support you. My deepest desire is to support women leaders to overcome any blocks that you might have to prosperity and abundance and experiencing ease and flow in your financial life, as well as confidence, so that you can have the prosperity and the life that you envision, even beyond what you can imagine. And I want to acknowledge you for taking the time to listen to this, to further your education, to become more confident, to become more grounded, and to invite more ease in your money relationship. As a money coach, I am passionate about bringing together the material, the emotional, and the spiritual. And my background is in finance. I have over 25 years in the financial services industry in many different arenas, including an investment specialist at Schwab and 15 years having a bookkeeping business. My background is also very spiritual. I've been meditating since I was 12 years old, and I've studied many different modalities, so including energy work. And so that piece of it is really important to me as well, so that we can have a spiritual foundation that brings that sense of trust into our relationship with money. And we're bringing together the feminine and the masculine, the feminine of that ability to receive, the feminine piece of connecting with our spiritual source and allowing the flow, as well as the masculine that brings in that piece around discipline, discernment, and taking our actions. We need all of that to really be successful with our money and in our life. And I'm really passionate as well about making this available to people of all backgrounds, all ethnicities, ages, and abilities, so that they can feel empowered in their money life. When we can overcome our trauma around money and bringing the practical and the intuitive together, then we can really bring our much needed gifts and talents to the world. And that is my wish for you. So I have identified 4 areas that are foundational to having financial freedom in a way that is aligned spiritually and emotionally. And those 4 areas, I will share my screen here. Are self-care, healing, support, and attention. On the self-care area, we need to pay attention to our spiritual, physical, and emotional well-being. On the healing side of things, we're looking at excavating family patterns and trauma, and bringing in nervous system tools like meditation and tapping. If you're familiar with emotional freedom technique, that goes right to the nervous system and relieves specific nervous system patterns, stress patterns. And I also use money archetypes that I'm going to be diving into shortly. So it's really important that we can relax when we're making money decisions, so that we can make those decisions from a rational place. And we all need support in our money life. We need to draw on professionals, whether they be coaches or advisors, financial advisors like René and her team. You might need a CPA to help you with your taxes, legal advice, help with contracts, and community. The world at large is not a place where money is talked about comfortably. So having a place where you can talk about money and feel safe doing that is really healing. And then paying attention to your finances through tracking, saving, and planning. So having a plan for how much you want to spend in all your different categories, for how much you want to set aside for both short-term and long-term needs. And the only way to know what that plan is going to be is through tracking and seeing exactly where you're spending. So speaking of the self-care piece. Self-care, self-worth, and self-love all work together. When we're taking care of ourselves, it's building that sense of self-worth and the sense of self-love. And when we're loving ourselves, we want to take care of ourselves, and that comes back to our sense of self-worth. And when we're taking the right actions, it builds our self-esteem as well. So all of these things are really important for a foundation with our financial freedom, with our prosperity and abundance. And on the emotional side, excavating these unconscious patterns is really important, where oftentimes there is trauma that is settled into ourselves without us even knowing it, because when we're children, we're taking it all in. We don't have a choice. We're not able to discern what comes into our system. And so those patterns that were around every day can settle in, and we might react to them and reject them, or they might just become part of our own behavior. So we need to become aware of what is driving us. And we're looking at chemicals here. That's why it's so hard to change money patterns, because they are these addictive chemicals. They're triggered by, I would say, addictive chemicals. So even cortisol can be addictive. And dopamine is a feel-good chemical. So for example, if you have a spending issue, and that's one way that you relieve stress, that can be a very habitual thing, and becoming aware of that and how entrenched some of this can be very helpful. And we want to be moving from the reptilian brain, the reactive brain. So let's say there's a stress that gets activated, and that's when we go into that fight or flight. We want to be able to recognize when that happens, and then be able to make a decision from the thinking brain. That's the goal. And the 8 money types can really help. And these are the 8 money types: the innocent, the victim, the martyr, the fool, the creator artist, the tyrant, warrior, and magician. And I'm going to go into each one of these now. There we go. The innocent. This is the head in the sand. So you're in the right place if you have issues. Sorry, my mouse seems to have a mind of its own here. If you have issues of anxiety or fear around money, or if you have done a lot of work around your money relationship and you want to take it to another level, these money types will help you to externalize what's going on, so it's not so personal. And once you have that awareness, it gives you more choice. So the innocent is that part of us that is trusting, that has a lot of anxiety engaging with money, is financially dependent, has a hard time being confrontational. That might come in how much you charge your clients if you're self-employed, or how much you earn, and having some anxiety around asking for a raise. That would be the innocent, that young part of us that doesn't want to rock the boat, doesn't really want to deal with money. So sharing a story with you of my friend Katie, who was able to heal those wounds from her childhood programming and fulfill her vision of buying her own home. That was really huge for her, because originally any engagement with money brought tremendous amount of anxiety for her. And so you know that buying a house requires a lot of grown-up steps. And this really is a process of adulting. So she was able to take a lot of steps getting her loan and working with a realtor and other professionals without turning her power over to them. The victim. This is such a sensitive dynamic that we all can get into at different times. And it's where we're blaming someone outside of ourselves or circumstance on our situation. So having compassion for that part of us is what's really, really important here. And if you notice yourself getting highly emotional around money or telling a story over and over again, then you might have some of this victim happening, and it's hard to face it. Nobody wants to be a victim. The antidote for the victim is that forgiveness and also doing a gratitude practice. Marina had a lot of victim going on. She didn't realize it until she really took a deeper look at her money influences. One of the things that was going on for her was that she had an inheritance, but her stepfather took it all over and she didn't have any control over what was going on once her mother passed away. So she didn't know if she was going to get any of that inheritance. That really should have been hers. And you can imagine the challenge that it would be to let go of that, but she really was able to, and to come back to her own sense of empowerment to create her future. And she did raise her rates. Here is a beautiful Hawaiian prayer, ho'oponopono, that can help with that forgiveness piece. I'm sorry. Please forgive me. Thank you. I love you. And you say that for yourself first, and then for each of your parents or any significant adults from your childhood. And that can really help to shift the energy. And it brings the responsibility for whatever hurt you still have back to yourself so you can release it. The martyr is that part of us that is controlling and can use giving in a manipulative way. And if you see that you're self-sacrificing around children, around work, maybe volunteering, and you're starting to feel resentful, that could be the martyr showing up. So the martyr really needs to know where her boundaries are and what her own needs are. That can be challenging sometimes. So I want to talk about some spiritual principles that can really help. Gratitude, first of all, I mentioned that as an anecdote for the victim archetype. And when we're grateful, it really does dissolve any sense of not enoughness. So a daily gratitude practice is so helpful. Coming from a place of service in our work and in our daily lives, whatever it is that you're doing, that can sometimes feel like a burden or people aren't appreciating you. When you come from a place of service, and I know many of you listening to this know this. So it's a reminder that you come back to, how can I serve? And just asking that question every morning. And then practicing generosity really helps open the flow of prosperity and abundance. There's a beautiful meditation that I love to offer that you can just open your palms and place them on your thighs, and then feel a flow of energy in through the left hand, through the heart, and out through the right. And inhaling, imagining that energy moving in through the left, through the heart space, and out through the right. And notice as you're doing this, whether you're feeling more ease with receiving or with giving, and see if you can help shift wherever you might be blocked. It's very powerful. Okay, we'll move back to the slideshow here. The next money archetype is the Fool. And this is that part of us that is the risk taker and impulsive and really lives for today. So I want something, I'm going to go for it. And this money type can get us into debt and can also wreak some havoc on relationships. Imagine if one person, and maybe you don't have to imagine, maybe you know this dynamic in your relationship. If one person is more conservative, careful, or even fearful about spending, the other person is happy-go-lucky and no problem, it's all going to work out, then that can be really challenging. Oftentimes the fool can get away with it because when you take risks, you might have some wins. And so there could be some financial gain that comes from it. So just watching whether it's creating problems around debt or in relationships. And then the anecdote for that is to pause before making those decisions. For example, holding off on pressing the button when you're buying online, leaving things in the shopping cart for 24 hours, talking to somebody. I always invite my clients to text me if they're thinking about making a large purchase, and large is really relative depending on your circumstances. But it's great to talk things over with someone if you're feeling that impulsiveness. The creator artist, we do want to have that creative spiritual part of us have some influence in our money life, because she's the one who is giving us vision and helping us to identify and follow our purpose in life. So we want that. Where the creator artist can create problems with money is that creator artist doesn't really care about money and might have a love-hate relationship with money or be very conflicted. So if you grew up in a family where there was a lot of fighting around money, that's not going to be an appealing thing to deal with. And another area this can show up is if you grew up in a very religious environment where money is looked down upon and wealth is looked down upon as greedy. And we all know, if we can think it through rationally, that there are plenty of people with wealth who do a lot of good with it. So the creator artist needs to know that she can bring her spirituality and her values together with the practical, with the discernment of the warrior that we're going to come to in a moment. The tyrant is this controlling part of us, different from the martyr, that there's just this hanging on of money, the fear of losing it, and a strong identification with our value, our sense of worth, and our money. So bringing in the spiritual and knowing that our worth isn't dependent upon how much money we have is what the tyrant needs to learn. And anytime you feel that sense of fear or criticalness, that could be the tyrant showing up. And we need to bring our spiritual self into the picture. Carrie had some strong tyrant, and it was keeping her from earning because she had a comfort zone of living very small, and her business wasn't earning very much. She was afraid she'd feel out of control if she made more money. She had a big breakthrough where she was able to purchase another bookkeeping business and hire employees and triple her income and move out of the home she was living in with her in-laws and into a home with her family of their own. So beautiful changes when she was able to bring the magician that sense of trust, and come to the magician in a moment. And she was able to have that transformation. Here is our beautiful warrior who is disciplined, goal-oriented, financially successful, has that confidence that we want to have. And where the warrior can get in trouble if you're driven, I don't think we need to be driven personally to be successful. I think that we can bring in that sense of ease and relaxation and self-care and still be disciplined and taking action every day and be successful. So when the warrior goes into overdrive, then that can start to create resentment or exhaustion. And that can be the challenge for the warrior. But we do want the warrior to be in charge of the financial decisions, with the creator artist guiding the way on our vision and purpose, and the magician bringing in that intuitive piece. And here is our magician, that consciousness, that sense of trust, a natural generosity that flows from knowing that the world is abundant, that we have enough, and a natural confidence as well from that place, open to the flow of prosperity coming to you, from that exercise that I shared earlier, whether you are open to the flow or whether you need to invite that flow more. And inviting the magician into your space is a beautiful way to do that. I love to think of Harriet Tubman, who brought that warrior and the creator artist and the magician together so beautifully in her quest to free as many slaves as she could in her lifetime. The warrior had her taking actions constantly, and she was working so much from that place of faith, and even what direction to walk in was coming from an internal place of inspiration and intuition, and always keeping her vision in mind. So taking a step here toward tracking, saving, and planning on the practical side before we close, just to give you a sense of how you can look at this, getting clarity on the simple spreadsheet where you know what your debt balances are, if you have any, you know what all your saving balances are, and how much you're spending in each area of your spending categories. If you track that for 3 months and get an average, you'll have an idea of generally what you spend, and then you can create a plan from that. And that's where you can feel really empowered in knowing how much is the right amount for you to spend each month. And you can be looking at it regularly to know if you're on track. So I'm inviting you to, if this has spurred some curiosity for you about what your money types are, about how you might be able to shift some patterns that you have, I would love to chat with you. And this is a 45-minute call. It's the money breakthrough call. And my website has a link to schedule that call, as well as take the money type quiz. And I'm going to end with a beautiful quote from Tosha Silver. It's Not Your Money, which is one of my favorite spiritual books about money. Let me know my own value, beauty, and worthiness without question.
Namaste. Yes, we both do that. What a wonderful topic. Thank you so much. And the fact that you are diving into the emotional side, the side where you need to be thinking about this from a spiritual side, how it reduces the stress and makes you more confident about dealing with your financial life. Because oftentimes we find that people are so stressed because they feel like, I don't know enough, I'm not worthy of it, I don't deserve it. But that was an awesome process for people to really realize, yes, you are, but you've got to start there at that beginning. And so with that said, I love the fact that you started off with us doing some meditation. Maybe we should have you do a meditation phase for us too.
I would be happy to.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. This is so pertinent to all women in particular, because of the fact that we don't feel as confident, as I mentioned before. And this really takes them through a step in the process so that they can get confident about stepping in and managing and feeling more confident about their financial lives. So awesome. Thank you, everyone. We look forward to seeing and working with you. Have a wonderful, wonderful day the rest of your week.